What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bronx Pinstripes show, and the Yankees are on to Houston. I think that was just about as perfect of a Game 5 elimination as you could possibly draw up. Maybe aside from a 10-0 blowout, and you don't have to use any of your actual good relief pitchers. That went damn near perfect.
Yeah, it absolutely did. The early lead, Nestor goes, pretty deep. He went a lot deeper than I was expecting him to go, to be honest. And you cannot talk about Stanton more with how big that home run was. Just to, I think we've talked about this a bunch of times already in this series. It's like there have been moments where pressure is relieved in a game, and again, like that one, maybe pressure not being relieved is not the right thing to say there, because it fired them up. Like they were fired up big time. So it was awesome to see. It was awesome to see them really just coming out of the gates hot. There was no lull at all there.
Savali was clearly just rattled. Like he had no command, and he was a puddle on the mound. And the Stanton one, like I saw that home run coming a mile away. But the ironic thing is, he actually made like a really good pitch to Judge on 3-2 after walking Gleyber on, I think it was 4 straight pitches. He goes to 3-2 on Judge and throws him a 3-2 nasty curveball to get him. And if anything was gonna settle him in, it would have been that, striking out Judge in that situation, but it didn't. He just continued to melt down. And damn, if I'm a Guardians fan, I'm sitting there and just like obviously second guessing the decision to start Savali. But I was trying to think of it like, what would that be the equivalent of with the Yankees? Like, let's say Garrett Cole was would have been on 3 days rest today, and instead of starting Garrett Cole today, the Yankees went with Domingo Germán, right? Like that's kind of what it was. Shane Bieber was on 3 days rest. I know they kept saying we don't want to use him. It's not fair to him. He's a young pitcher, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure Shane Bieber wanted the ball. And 3 days rest, we saw Nestor do it and succeed. And they went to Savali, who's got like pretty much a 5 ERA, has struggled against the Yankees this year. I mean, that's the game right there. That's the game.
When I saw that they were still throwing Savali today, I was so happy. I was so happy because he's the really the only guy in the pitching staff. I mean, I'm not even talking about just the rotation, but the entire pitching staff that's hittable, to a large degree. He's had, obviously the Yankees have had really good success off him. So not just knowing that, like you're walking in with a lot of confidence. You're walking in with a lot of confidence, and then all of a sudden he's not able to locate like. From the jump, starts out with a 3-0 count, walks, then you have a lot of confidence at that point. When the catcher was calling for that ball outside, when Gleyber was on second base, first of all, it was the most obvious motion that you could possibly see. I mean, you could probably hear his arm moving if I'm Stanton, to a motion like that he's going to the outside. And I'm sure they have some kind of a signal where Gleyber can give him at least location if he's standing on second base. And there was no hiding it. Stanton looked like he knew that ball was on the outside and was just ready to go with it and put just a laser shot into right field. So, I mean, everything went perfectly in that first inning. And then from there, it was, Cleveland just couldn't really get any momentum at all.
Yeah. And so I think, I don't know what, I thought the rain delay last night, obviously, I don't want to go too far deep into it because I think enough has been talked about with that rain delay and how it was mishandled by MLB. But we had mentioned on the Game 4 recap, because someone asked, would it be good for the Yankees to have Game 5 delayed a day? And we both said no, because I think for a couple of reasons. One, we wanted to ride the momentum of the Game 4 win. And two, seemingly it would have brought Bieber back into play, and it didn't bring Bieber back into play. And that obviously then benefited the Yankees tremendously because it allowed them to start Cortez instead of Taillon. And then it allowed them to have Wandy, who pitched in all 5 games in this series, have Loaizaga go for 2, and Holmes come back rested. So like, I know it's going to suck. We're going to talk about Houston and the fact that they don't have days off going into Houston, but as far as just like advancing past Cleveland, it actually worked out ideally for the Yankees.
It did, and the fact that Bieber wasn't available was probably the most surprising thing because both of us, yes, Bieber was in our minds going to be available, but then also Savale was almost taken out of play. It just didn't happen. Francona, for whatever reason, decided not to do that. So I love it. I'm happy it worked out because it really did. It ended up benefiting the Yankees because they were able to reload, and it didn't matter what the bullpen was like for Cleveland because they jumped on Savali. It took their bullpen completely out of the game.
Yeah.
So he took away one of his best attributes and one of his biggest advantages, I think, for at that moment.
His single biggest
by starting
advantage
Savali
over the Yankees is the bullpen, or should have been the bullpen, especially because they were all rested. Clase, Karenchik, like all of their big guns were rested coming. Like they almost could have just skipped Savali altogether and just gone full bullpen game. Like that,
they absolutely could have.
That would have given them a better chance to win this game anyway, because like the Yankees, they scored 1 run off of, or I guess it was 2 runs off of the bullpen. But really, yeah, the game was the first inning, and it was the Stanton home run. And so we were talking before. It's like, okay, we've got Manscaped. Manscaped comes in for ALDS Game 5. We got to award a nut up moment. So the nut up moment of the game is Giancarlo's 3-run bomb. But then it's like, okay, who nutted up today? That's Nestor Cortes for going on 3 days rest, pitching 5 innings 2 times through the order. And if not for another freaking bloop, like curse of the bloops, then he would have been probably 5 shutout innings. But then if we got to award a nut up player of the series,
3 nuts is a 3 nut day. It's a 3 nut day.
3 nuts, 3 wins to make it past the Cleveland Guardians. The nut up player of the series goes to Wandy Peralta for just being filthy and pitching every single game in this series. Just unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, we've definitely been hard on Garrett Cole during really down the stretch, mostly the second half of the season. Definitely hard on Garrett Cole because of our expectations and because what we expect him to do when he goes out there and takes the ball. And he did it. So kudos to him, pitching a couple times on short rest as well, going out there and really shoving. But this team, they went down, and it was a big. There were a lot of question marks when they went down 2-1. And to their credit, back against the wall against Cleveland again for the second time they faced them in 2 playoff series. Did not say die. Came back and ended up taking the series. So you could feel it, man. Like the crowd was awesome. Like tip of the cap to everybody who was in the crowd today who left work, who made it down to the stadium and was loud from the very beginning. I really think they were feeding off of that. And the treatment for Josh Naylor was beautiful. It was beautiful. I'm so happy that Who's Your Daddy has come back, and it was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. So, at the end of the day, I do appreciate Josh Naylor for being a complete jackass.
Oh my God.
And trying to rock the baby, do whatever the F he was doing. While losing a game, talking shit. And I actually do think that I don't know if you saw Glaber.
Oh,
I mean, of course you saw Glaber when he the last out doing the little rock of the baby. Like it fueled those guys. They were not going to lose to this team.
It definitely fueled them. And I tweeted the moment it happened. I was like, if this does not piss them off and catapult them forward, then they don't deserve to win this series. And I know Cole's comments after game 4, like, oh, it's cute, I didn't really see it. Like he's downplaying it because that's just the type of guy Garrett Cole is. But the fact that Gleyber Torres had that planned, right? Like obviously he didn't know he was going to catch the last out of the game. I don't know if I don't know if Rizzo, if he catches the last out of the game, would have done it. Who knows? Maybe that's just Gleyber taking that upon himself. But the fact of the matter is, it was a thing in their dugout, obviously.
Yeah.
And
how it's impossible for it not to be. It's absolutely impossible for it not to be.
And I mean, Naylor has just got to feel like the biggest of all tool bags. But shout out to Stanton and to Nestor and to Wandy for getting the nut up players of this series. I'm sure everyone has experienced at least one bloodbath while shaving before. Accidents happen, we get it, but they are preventable. Don't let your face or your balls look like Michael Myers did your shaving. Manscaped has you covered to make sure your pumpkins get the ultimate carving experience this holiday season with their 4th generation performance package. It includes 5 amazing products: the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, which has a cutting edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents, an LED spotlight chargeable battery, a lock function, and it's waterproof. The Weed Whacker for those nose and ear hairs. They've got unique liquid formulations, Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant, Crop Reviver Ball Toner, and brand new Body Buffer, which is 100% antibacterial body scrubber, so you can stay fresh and clean. Also, travel bag and a pair of boxers. Manscaped is trusted by over 6 million men worldwide, so you know their products are quality. Guys, if you've been using the same old razors and the same old products for years and years, it's definitely time to upgrade. Go to manscaped.com and get 20% off plus free shipping with our code Bronx21. Again, 20% off with code Bronx21 at manscaped.com. Thank you so much to Manscaped for sponsoring, and congrats to the triple nut,
the triple nut, the three nut,
the three-peat.
Every time Manscaped comes back on the pod, good things happen. So yeah, go get those razors, go get your nut butter, go get your nut cream, go get all your
nut butter,
get all your nut gear, and keep them coming back, because the Yankees win when Manscaped is part of the show.
All right, so obviously there's so much to unpack. We do want to talk about the Houston stuff and how that impacts it, but we'll save that for the end. I kind of want to start towards the end of this game because Cole was warming up in the 9th inning, and I think a lot of people were like, "Oh, is this insurance? Like, what's going on here? Like, is he really needed here?" And I don't know if you were watching the pregame, but I was watching pregame, and Pedro Martinez actually specifically mentioned this, saying, just because Garrett Cole warms up today doesn't mean he's necessarily coming in the game. If the Yankees are up big and he starts warming up late, they might just be having him do his bullpen session, because today was his throw day. So that's, I think, what he was doing. Now, if the game got to where I guess it would have been, so Kwan was on deck. If Kwan gets on, then Rosario is up with the go-ahead run, then maybe I guess you might see Cole come in. But I think that's the only scenario. So it was kind of like they were killing two birds with one stone there, trusting Wandy. He's not going to blow this, and also get Cole starting throwing. And then if you need him, you can ramp him up and get him in the game.
So there's a couple of reasons why I love this. I did think it was going to be a long shot for him to get in the game, but just knowing that Garrett Cole's back there warming up as well as a complete stopper, like, you think you're going to get something going. Well, just so you know, like, this is the guy that's warming up, and the stadium reacts to it. Everybody reacts to it when they see him out there warming up as well. And I think it's just it's a good thing to show your other team. Might as well get the bullpen in public. They could absolutely have done that in, behind closed doors in a tunnel. You could get your work in somewhere else. It doesn't need to be out in the bullpen. But yeah, I think that if push came to shove and this game were to get remotely close, or a tying run gets on, or anything that remotely puts the game in check at all, I think that what Boone was also doing is showing, like, this is the best guy we have out there. He's going to be the one coming in to finish the game.
Yeah, and I also think that they use the bullpen arms, I guess, aside from Trevino, they used the bullpen arms that they wanted to use. They got, like I said, this went perfectly. Nestor for 5, 2 times through the order. Loizaga for 2, and then Holmes.
Loizaga looked really good again, man. He looked really good. That what was it, to close the 8th inning, I think it was, or the 7th inning maybe?
7th.
It was 100 mile an hour on the black. It had movement. It was nasty. It was really, that's when he's best. You see that fastball starts, getting that horizontal movement and really starts jumping off at you. He looks really good. So that's a good sign to get him rounding into shape. Last few outings, he's looked really good.
Yeah. And so it was him for 2 and Holmes for the 8th, and then Peralta for the 9th. Like, it just worked out perfectly. I like, honestly, this is exactly how they drew it up. Aside from having a massive lead and having Domingo Germán try and eat 5 innings, like, and saving some bullpen arms. But, like, again, you don't expect that to happen against a Cleveland pitching staff. And what Nestor's day, like, he looked better today almost than he did in the game 2 start, I thought. Like, he gave up nothing hard hit. And the one run that they got was the Kwan blooper, which is a misplay by Cabrera. Like, Cabrera's got to back off and let Hicks take that play. Hicks catches that, no problem. Now, I don't know if he couldn't hear Hicks calling for it or whatever. You just need to have field awareness. Like, and people are saying, oh, well, Hicks didn't catch up to a ball earlier. Like, there's been is that the fourth bloop in that like exact spot in this series?
It was the third, the fourth one that dropped. Yeah, because there were two that Cabrera out there, and then the one that Hicks ran in on. So yeah, fourth.
It's crazy. And so, I mean, what I thought that play highlighted is the shortstop defense. I mean, even with Cabrera there,
Cabrera had two plays that he botched. So I know everybody's calling for IKF's head because of defensive plays, and warranted with the way that he played in the game. I mean, I think it's been Boone really has used him, it seems like, as a scapegoat a little bit, to be honest. And I think it's been, and I saw the footage of him trying to leave the stadium last night with people giving it to him. Like, I kind of feel bad for him at this point, because he does do, for all intents and purposes, like, this guy busts his butt and does the things. He's just, maybe not as fleet of foot as we want as a shortstop. But it begs the question, and I know that Logan's coming home from the game and probably listening to this and screaming for
Peraza.
For Peraza to be on the ALCS roster to play shortstop, because you're right.
I don't think
shortstop defense is one of those things. Well, Hicks, he did something to his hamstring or something. He looked like he was.
Oh, they're going to need a body, but they're going to add.
He looked like he knew he was hurt, and that was
his
knee.
Like,
you could see him getting emotional.
His
knee? Okay.
So
you could see him getting emotional, and so they're going to need a body. And
I think it's going to be Benintendi.
Shortstop defenses. Well, they could do a number of things. I think there's a lot of options. Assuming health of for particular people, because you could leave Carpenter off of the ALCS roster as well if you're going to put in Benintendi.
Yeah, and who knows if DJ's healthy enough to come back? Do they add DJ back, and then what happens to Marwin? But you actually kind of saw Marwin's value in this game. The fact that he can play left field. I'm not saying he's like going to be the best left fielder. Someone tweeted me, like, it was a 4-run lead at the time, and they put Marwin in. They're like, why not just put LeCastro in at this point? Like, you've got a 4-run lead? Aren't you just going to? I know it was early in the game. I think it was the 4th inning, but it's like, how much worse is LeCastro's bat behind Marwin that you wouldn't take the defensive upgrade? And I understand they would want LeCastro for pinch running if you need it in a tie game, close and late. But like, yeah, I don't know. But my point is, you saw why Marwin's on the roster, because he could play shortstop or he could play left field.
Yeah, but he's on the roster to play first base if needed too. Like that's the real reason he's there. But
so if DJ comes back, Marwin's off or Carpenter's off?
I think Marwin's off. I think you're looking at two people that we have our eyes on, and it's DJ and Benintendi. Because I think if both of those guys are on, I think both of those two people that you just mentioned are probably off.
Yeah.
Carpenter didn't hit. I mean, granted, he was in, a couple situations.
Two at bats.
But he gives you nothing defensively because he's not going to go out there and play, right? And if Benintendi's there, you're in theory getting a bat back. So it'll be interesting to see how they work that. And especially if they're looking at shortstop and seeing that they need to shore it up. If they believe that Peraza is
I don't see Peraza as an option. I don't think they're going to trust Peraza to put. I don't think at this stage they're going to.
They trust Cabrera to go to shortstop, and he had only had less than a handful of appearances at short in the bigs.
Yeah. Do you think they don't want to admit do you think they don't want to admit how big of a mistake they made with this by now putting Peraza on the roster?
No, I don't think it's. I don't think it's that at all. I think that it's. I think it's a possibility.
So I also saw some reports. Boone said that Stanton could actually play the outfield in Houston. Now, maybe this is bullshit because he said this before the postseason too, that he could play the outfield. But maybe they are comfortable with Stanton in left field because Houston has a small left field. And then what does that do? That opens up your DH spot for potentially Carpenter.
I was going to say, if that's the case, yeah, that's a different story. Now Carpenter can get some consistent at bats, and now you're looking at, I think, a different situation if that's the case. If Stanton can play left field, it changes a lot of things.
My opinion on that, though, is if you're going to put Stanton in left field in Houston, what's the like? I understand Yankee Stadium is by far a bigger left field, but really, what's the difference? He's still in the outfield running balls down, like, right? Like,
yeah. It is, but at the same, he's not going back as much. He's playing it off the wall there. You know,
What
he's
what
really
are we
not
talking
doing a
about? A
ton of movements.
5% difference here of like injury risk or something?
Yeah, but
Like,
also understanding. Look at what happened already in left field. Like left field was
it's
a
been a
circus.
disaster.
This whole
Left field's-
series.
It has been.
Stanton
Yeah.
ain't helping that matters. Like
Oh my
Stanton
God.
ain't running in on those balls
Imagine
and catching them.
Stanton running into
Laying
Oswaldo.
someone out.
Oswaldo he would just disintegrate. He would have poofed. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they do with the roster, and also with the pitching staff, which we'll talk about in a second. Looking
We're
through
gonna find out soon, man. There's no days off. No days off for this team.
It's crazy turnaround.
It's kind of I feel like it's a good thing for the offense, though. It's, you know, we've seen how teams have struggled.
One day off.
The bullpen's not in a bad shape right now, but it's not in bad shape.
Here's the problem, though, with the fact that there's no days off. You only have one off day in the series.
Yeah.
If there was a normal series and you had 2 off days, then I might agree with you. But they have one off day. It'll be Friday after game 2, and then no more off days. So it's going to be pushed. This pitching staff is going to be pushed. And listen, the Houston Astros lineup is not going to be as easy to navigate as the Cleveland Guardians lineup.
No doubt.
So
no doubt about it.
So it's just everybody's going to have to take more pitches to get through at bats. Guys aren't going to have. I mean, Nestor Cortes had like 60 pitches through 5 innings, 65 pitches through 5 innings or something like that. Like, I mean, the Guardians, clearly their approach wasn't, oh, let's try and work this guy's pitch count. He's on 3 days rest. They were trying to attack him. But it's not going to be as easy against Houston to navigate the lineup. And with one off day in the series, like, it's really going to be interesting what they do. I was thinking about this. So they have announced Taillon as the game 1 starter against Verlander. Severino is on regular rest for game 2. And that would line up Garrett Cole for game 3 on Saturday, which the game we will be at. But you could actually pitch Garrett Cole on short rest in game 2, which would then allow him to be back on full rest for game 7. Instead, they're electing to go full rest game 3, and then if needed, short rest game 7. Which one do you think is a more optimal play here?
I think 100% him going on full rest in game 3 is definitely the move, because if you jump down, if Houston takes the first 2 games at home, 7-game series, not a 5-game series, which is is very important. You want Garrett Cole on the mound to stop the bleeding at home at that first game. You absolutely want that. Game 7, is not even remotely close to a guarantee. So I'm not looking at that at all. In fact, if I'm going Garrett Cole in game 3, then you have an ability to bring, practically everybody back besides the guy that pitches the night before, probably on short rest in a game 7 like that. So, I think everything's out the window once you get to that situation, but you got to get to that situation, and throwing Garrett Cole at full rest is your best opportunity, especially if you can steal one. If these guys can steal a game at Houston, and then you have Garrett Cole on the mound in game 3 to take the lead in the series, that's a big deal. So I like him on full rest. I want him, fully ready to go on that game 3. I think it's going to be a huge game.
I think you're right, because you're probably not making it to game 7 if you lose the first Garrett Cole start, and your best opportunity to win the first Garrett Cole start is to have him on regular rest for that first game. So I think you're right. In a 7-game series, you can afford to lose the first 2 and still not be completely out of the series, like unlike in a 5-game series. I mean, obviously it's hard, but like being down 2-0 going home, it's not an impossible situation. Like, plenty of teams have come back from that.
Right. And who do you want to start that comeback other than
Nestor Cortes, Garrett Cole? Which would then be Nestor Cortes in game 4. So you'd have Taillon, then Severino, then Garrett, then Nestor. That's how the pitching lines up.
That actually lines up really nicely, because if they're able to steal one, if Severino comes out and is able to, I swear to God, they need to get Severino throwing like an hour before the game, just to make so, we've talked about.
Well, the schedule is weird. The schedule is weird. Like, I was looking through this, like the times flip flop every day. So like, let's look. What time is the start in game? So tomorrow's game is a 7:37.
I forgot about the whole debacle of him not knowing the time, but that's not what I meant. What I mean is get him get him loose, get him ready to go. He finally finds himself in like the third,
Oh,
fourth inning every single time. That's what I meant.
I thought
That
you
guy
meant he
needs to
didn't know
get
what time the game
no.
started.
I forgot. Yeah. I forgot that actually happened in real life. No, I'm more saying when Severino is, 50 pitches in, that's when he's at his best.
So
Like
have
that
him
guy
throw
is
50 pitches in the pen
yeah,
beforehand.
yeah, yeah. Wet throws. Give me some wet throws and really get his legs going. Because it feels like when his legs are underneath him and he fully has them underneath him, he becomes, just filthy. So that's what I want.
We just got an update. Aaron Hicks knee surgery, 6-week
Oh,
recovery.
Jesus.
That,
That
that
sucks for
is
him.
that is that
It did
turned
not when
that
they
turned
showed the
quickly.
replay a bunch of times, it certainly it did not look bad. It was hard to see. It just must have hit the right way or twisted the right way.
I mean, that sucks for him. Obviously, Hicks was
But
not,
that sucks for him.
yeah. That obviously Hicks wasn't going to be, shouldn't have been a big factor, but like obviously it sucks for him. Uh, I was looking at the
Benintendi,
times
looking at Benintendi, like all that's where my eyes are going right now. Is he ready? Is he
for the
ready?
so quickly on the schedule. It's weird. It flip flops every day with the NLCS, which is frustrating. 7:37 East Coast start on Wednesday, and then on Thursday also a 7:37 East Coast start. On Saturday we've got a 5 o'clock East Coast start, and then on Sunday a 7 o'clock East Coast start, and then Monday a 4 o'clock East Coast start. So it kind of like flips back and forth. They obviously don't want the AL and the NL games to overlap. I mean, I get it. TV, like networks are paying big money for these and stuff. They want exclusivity during those broadcasts, but like it seems kind of unfair to have a team play a night game and then a day game the next day in a freaking championship series. Like it just doesn't seem. It's whatever. I mean, that's why
Yeah.
like my opinion of the Monday night thing. It's like once it was 9 o'clock, 9:30, and the tarp was still on the field. I'm like, just call this thing. You're not going to start a game 5 elimination at 10:15 at night. That would be asinine.
It's water under the bridge at this point. I'm sure still people are still highly annoyed that we're there and couldn't make the game today.
Of
I bet people
course.
were getting some good deals on tickets at the last minute tonight. I bet there were a lot of people that got some good deals on tickets, but yeah, the forecast didn't change. I sent you guys screenshots back, before the game even started, and I saw on my app, not Susan's app, it's a different app, but the app that I look at is it was showing rain until almost 11 o'clock. So it wasn't a
Susan's app was
mystery.
showing the same thing. Yeah, it was a complete botch job. I mean, the frustrating thing is that on Sunday night we knew what the forecast was for Monday. We knew this was a risk, but it wasn't
Yeah.
supposed to start raining until 7 or 8 p.m. at night. The game was scheduled for 7 p.m. I know baseball would never do this, and there's probably reasons why they wouldn't do it, but like could they
Start
have
the game at
moved
3
the
o'clock.
game up at 3 o'clock? And like it would have sucked for all the people like scrambling and stuff, but at least you would have played it on the same day it was supposed to be played on, and everything else would have been, it's not a perfect solution, but I feel like it's a better solution than what we got, which was show up to the ballpark on time, pretend like everything is normal, have no updates for 2.5 hours, then call the thing at 9:40 at night, and then come back the next day. It's like it worked out for the
Yeah.
Yankees. I'm not complaining in that aspect, but that seems like the worst possible way to handle it.
Yeah, they won. So that's all I give a shit about. It worked out. And Savali was still pitching. I couldn't believe it when I saw that he was still pitching, but he
Yeah.
was, and he did, and it didn't work.
And then like Francona, just some questionable decisions. Like we talked about the bad challenges when the game in Cleveland, and then a non-challenge on that play when Rizzo had to dive for the bag. Like he was clearly safe. The guy was clearly safe. How did they miss that?
Yeah, I don't know who they have in their replay room making those calls. Like who are they making that phone call to that's looking at this thing closely? Clearly that guy needs some glasses because you're getting some bad information.
Yeah. Judge obviously hit the homer, was good for him. MLB Network ran a graphic earlier today on Judge's struggles. So percentage of pitches in the strike zone to Judge this season. In the first 143 games of the regular season, 46.6%. And then in the last 2 weeks when he was chasing the home run record, down to 37.4%. During the postseason against Cleveland, 51.2%. They were attacking him in the strike zone. It's not like he was expanding the strike zone and swinging, missing, and striking out. They were actually attacking him in the strike zone, and he was still struggling.
Well, I hope they continue to do that. I hope they get cocky and look and see that he was struggling in the strike zone, and they continue to do it. I hope Verlander is all over the strike zone against Aaron Judge, because I have a hell of a lot of confidence in that man in figuring it out and turning his slump around and doing damage. And we've seen it. You saw it today. I saw it earlier. Like, the guy will eventually do it. So I truly, truly hope that they continue to pitch to him, because it's going to bite them in the ass. And it's going to be a very good thing for us.
Yeah, and it'd be interesting to see if they keep Glaber leading off. I think a part of it will depend on what the roster looks like. If DJ's back and if he's healthy, do they put him at leadoff?
He's not healthy. That's the thing. He's not healthy.
Well,
we know he's
I guess
not healthy.
Andy Martino is reporting tweeted this. I guess Boone said that it's not likely that Benintendi will be added to the roster.
Okay.
So I don't know what, I mean, now they have to put Cabrera back in left field, and you have to put IKF back at shortstop. That means also, even if DJ is added to the roster, you're still going to have Carpenter and you're still going to have Marwin on the roster, or Stanton's in left field, right? Like, if Stanton's ever going to play left field,
but this is also where Peraza could come into play, because if you're trying to shore up that shortstop defense in some capacity, like, there's an option. There is an option there, getting another young guy in.
Yeah. I'd be shocked if they add Peraza to this roster.
I would be very surprised.
Honestly be shocked.
Too. I was surprised that they played Cabrera at shortstop in the first place also, but they did.
Yeah, I think, like you said earlier, like, they're using IKF as a scapegoat, kind of.
It feels like that, but I mean, I guess it's working. So keep using him as a scapegoat.
But I think if there's ever
IKF could be the sacrificial goat.
I think if there's ever a time, Stanton should be in left field in game 1. That's your best lineup. Stanton in left field in game 1.
It sends a message. It sends a message too. It does. You're rolling out your best guys against Verlander. I like having Carpenter, veteran guy, up there against Verlander. I like it. I mean, I think that if he is on the roster, if they're not forced to add another guy that can play defense because of Hicks's injury, then yeah. But again, like you said, it all boils down to if Stanton can play or will play, willing to play, or if they're willing to put him out there in left field.
Yeah, because you get Stanton in left, you get Carpenter at DH, and you can either have IKF or Cabrera at shortstop. So yeah, that'd be curious to see what they do. I wonder if they're gonna. Do we know if they're popping? Are they popping some brewskis in the clubhouse center?
I don't know. There's business to be taken care of. To be there's you can't even do that. You got a game tomorrow. It's like
you got to get on a flight in like an hour. You've got to
yeah. You can't be having those like Andre hangovers tomorrow when you're playing a game in Houston.
Yeah.
Nah. It's business still, like very much business, and especially going to Houston. Like, this is, look, I know
there has been champagne popped. It's probably just like ceremonial, just spraying. They're probably not doing much drinking of it.
So, I know that Houston is by far the hardest opponent that they could possibly face in the American League, but this is the way it needs to be. This is the way it needs to be. They need to face Houston. They need to exercise their demons. They need to, I'm going to say it again. They need to exercise their demons, and they need to beat Houston. And Justin Verlander being on the mound, it's just it feels right. You got to go through the gauntlet to get to the promised land. You got to go through this piece of shit team. So here they go.
Would it make another loss to Houston that much? Would it hurt that much more though?
Of course it would hurt. It would hurt. No doubt about it. Houston has had the Yankees number in the playoffs. The regular season. I know the regular season series has been pretty back and forth, but it seems like Houston keeps getting the last laugh in the regular season, whether it's no hitting you or whether it's like taking Chad Green deep on the last day of the first half of the season when you think you're going to sweep and you don't sweep, or sweeping you in a doubleheader coming out of the All-Star break, or one thing after the other. It just seems like, all right, enough. Just like, can we put an end to this thing already? And you know what the amazing thing is about Houston? They have somehow figured out a way to hate the Yankees
as much as Yankees hate Houston, even though they were in the wrong. And I actually commend them for it. You know what I mean?
There's also not a lot of guys that are. I mean, there's a lot of new people on this team.
There is, because Cabrera or what I'm drawing a blank. Correa is now in Minnesota, but like Altuve and Bregman are still there. It's still the Astros. It just seems like they've taken the everyone hates us and they've actually used it to fuel them. And part of me does respect that, because that's how I would want my team to respond in that situation. But you know that they're on a mission, obviously, to win another championship to validate their 2017 title. That's what they're looking at.
Yeah. Yeah, but again, a lot of different guys too. So I don't know how much it validates anything at this point. There's, there's a few guys that are left over there. So I don't really see it as that as much. The Yankees definitely have more. They have a pure chip on their shoulder. Aaron Judge has unfinished business, a pure chip on his shoulder. So
do you think,
I like the way that they bottle up their emotions and use it. And you can see that they did that with this series against the Cleveland Guardians. Almost did it.
You almost pulled the Costas.
Almost did it.
And people were all over Costas tonight again because he didn't know the Yankees
I didn't do it
the 2009 World Series.
I'm a professional.
It's like every nerd at home yelled, "They won the 2009 World Series, Bob." It's like, all right, chill out. He's old. Do you think
he needs to just go back and call the Olympics? Like, that's where he's good. He makes everything. He tries to make everything. He tries to make everything epic, and it feels like the Olympics are that. Like, keep that shit
once every 2 years. So it's like, all right, I can listen to Bob once every 2 years for some curling and for some swimming that I don't give a shit about.
Yeah,
do you think curling sound epic? Do you think the Yankees pitchers know not to throw Jose Altuve a first pitch strike yet?
I hope so. We know damn well he's swinging.
All right. Well, anything else you want to touch on from the series or thinking ahead to tomorrow? I mean, we're going to be doing another recap episode after game 1 of the ALCS tomorrow. So, this is your Astros preview episode.
Yeah, basically. This is no, I got nothing else, man. I'm just excited for this series. This is exactly what we wanted. This is exactly what we were getting. So, Yankees are going to get as much fuel as they need, as much as they need, because they don't have a large turnaround time. But they're going to be coming in amped up. They're going to be coming in amped up, ready to go, and very, very, very hot off of this win. So I kind of like that. I really do. I like how they're able to just turn around and go to Houston and start playing baseball again, as it's meant to be played.
Everything on paper says the Astros are favored here because they're rested up. They've got Verlander against Jameson Taillon, but if momentum can overcome that, so we'll see. All right, that'll wrap it up for this. That's a wrap on the ALDS, and we'll be back at you tomorrow night recapping the first game of the ALCS.
Let's go.